Hey everybody, how you going? It's Josh here at Temple of the East. Thank you very much for tuning into this video, and I really hope you enjoy the coverage that I'm going to bring to you, as I think I'm the only channel covering this. Maybe it's not such big news, but I know a lot of French YouTubers and content creators are covering what's happening with what Monolith Games are doing with their newly announced Ragnarok game. And I'm going to give my thoughts and news about that, and hopefully update you guys. If you hadn't heard about it, don't worry, it's early days yet. They've just announced it, and it's kind of in the stages of early development of the miniatures, early development of the rules. It's just slowly sort of coming out. They just want to release something, I think, just so that people know that they're actually doing something with the license, and that's really most important. And that you could see something, we got to see some Wolven, one Wolven miniature, which did cause a bit of controversy amongst all the Wolven fans out there in Facebook. But we're really assured that I think Didier Paul is the person behind redesigning and doing it in a new vision, basically for Monolith Games. And that he's going to try to keep it as true and as close as they could to the original drawings and original sculpting and design aesthetics and they had for the original sculpts. So that's great to see. They're communicating really well with the fans, and that's really nice to see, because if they said nothing, then you probably would have had a lot of discontented people that felt that they weren't going in the right direction. But they're listening, so that's excellent. And they're using social media like all these big companies do. They've got to stay in contact with their fans, know how they feel, gauge how the responses are, if things are going well, if things are not. And they don't mind changing. I mean, at the end of the day, they've got to sell this stuff. So they're going to do it in the best interest of their customer base. So we've got that to cover. The game news for Ragnarok. That's the new tabletop skirmish game. They can't use confrontation apparently, because those cocaine snorting, whore rooting hotel dwellers that were sans detour. I'm really glad I didn't back that Kickstarter, because I really feel sorry for those poor bastards who did, because they got absolutely shafted in the end, and it's been absolutely disgraceful what those pricks have done. And let's hope they throw them in jail after all of that, because no one's going to see a red cent of that. And it's only going to put Monolith Games, set them back a bit, because they can't use the rights for, they can't use the word or trademark confrontation for some odd reason. I don't know if it's to do with that, or it's to do with like a video game license. Maybe another company owns it. I don't know. It's been rooted from one end of the barn to the other, really. The whole Rackham thing, confrontation included, everything about it is just being shagged senseless. So it's good to see Monolith taking it back and restoring it to its former glory, and we'll have to see what happens with that. But I'm sure they announced Hybrid as a board game too, so I'm thinking they're going to be releasing some information about that this year as well, which I'm really excited about, and seeing what that looks like. Okay, but before we go any further, I want to just send my congratulations to Kyle Gibson from the Temple of the West. I'm, of course, Temple of the East, and the whole reason why I did this was because in collaboration, well, not in real collaboration, but it was kind of like I want to represent confrontation from where I am in my studio here in Japan, and I'm in the East, of course, so I thought Temple of the East, that would be a pretty cool name to call the channel. And then Kyle helped me out with the logo to sort of, put his logo, sort of flip it to the side, rotate it to the side, and he made a little, he made a very nice, simple logo for me, and that's how it all started. And in fact, if you go all the way back, not that far, the channel's pretty new, but my first interview was with Kyle from the States, and talking all about Confrontation Continuum. It was getting pretty exciting then to see how the game was going to shape up, and we got to see some of the rules in a beautifully made like a pamphlet or brochure that he was handing out at Adepticon that year, to give people a glimpse of how the rules are going to work and how it was going to play. So I'm really happy to see this morning when I logged into Facebook, there it was, this beautiful black book with Gary Chalk's amazing artwork on the front. And it looks to be in the hands of Monolith. So that's excellent. And we're not going to get too hyped about it, but it was nice that Kyle could share that image to say that there is something that's going to happen with Continuum, and that all that hard work and all that money that Kyle invested in that project, that passion project of his, hasn't gone completely to waste. And I really respect Monolith's business sense, and they just thought, okay, I want to contact all these guys that have been part of trying to revive Confrontation and everything that Rackham had did, and looked at their products, looked at what they were doing, and saying, instead of just going against you and trying to cease and desist you, how about you work with us and we'll create some other products on the side. And I think that's fantastic, and get these guys on board. So I hope that's the same for Silvano and other people that have been at some point involved either with the company directly, employed by them, or have created products based on their IP and so forth. So I hope that's the way that they're going to do it. Monolith seemed pretty smart, pretty business smart. So they're going to start collaborating with people and just making it, just extending that IP into different areas, into different parts of the world, because as we know, Monolith's a French-based company. All the videos that I've seen so far have been made by French creators. There's no one on the sort of the Western side talking much about Confrontation, as far as I've seen anyway. Maybe I'm the first, I don't know. And I'm happy to champion Kyle's Continuum and also what they're doing at Monolith as well, because what I've seen so far looks pretty interesting. So let's get down to what they've been doing. So about a week ago, I say, they started releasing some images and the Ragnarok kind of title that they're going to use. And thanks to Samuel Moreno from the 3.5 Facebook Confrontation Fanatics group, because he started posting up news articles about this and translating it from French into English and sending that and dispersing that to all the people out there on Facebook and on the Discord. So thank you so much, Samuel, for that, because that really helped, mate, because it got us pretty excited about what was coming, because they had lots of interviews on these French-based YouTube channels and talking to the creators, talking to the people. It looks like there's one person that's sort of behind this, and they've got a Facebook group called Rackham. This has got Rackham with a new logo. Looks really nice. And they are that person is maybe just responsible for doing all the PR work and that kind of thing. I'm not really sure. Obviously, there's a whole team of designers and miniature sculptors, game designers, what have you, an admin behind the products, and they're taking part of that. And I think there's a Frenchman, young guy, who's handling all the PR work by the sound of things. I think a lot of people will be very, very happy that this will not be a effing Kickstarter. So this is going to be, they'll be taking pre-orders in 2025. 2026, sorry. Maybe they're taking pre-orders in 2025, sorry. I can't even read my own notes. No Kickstarter, which is a great move, I've written here, and release date is 2026. So at some point this year, I would say, I don't know, late summer, maybe autumn or winter, they'll have a release date and a pre-order. Which is excellent. I think that's a really good move. I'm nothing against Kickstarter itself, but I think after the whole debacle would happen with that Sans Dickhead Detour, that's what I'm going to call them, people are just really turned off by any sign of Kickstarters with the Confrontation or Rackham branding. So they just really had a bad experience with that. So I think that's a great move. It looks like it's going to be a box game containing Alahan and Wolven. So hopefully I've got some nice shots of those up here on the screen as I ramble through this. So the miniatures look really nice. They're going to be in a larger scale, probably about 35 to 38 millimeter in scale, which I'm not opposed to. I mean, Games Workshop, their miniatures have scale creeped over the years. And I kind of like it because, for me, I'm getting a bit older. My eyesight's not the best. I need like spectacles and a magnifying glass to see all this stuff now. So having a bit larger scale, I'm not too opposed of at all, to be honest. It looks like the miniatures will be made out of resin and not a glorious metal. Now, of course, I'm an old school gamer. I'm a bit of a grognard, so I started my miniature career. Well, actually, I started with plastics, with HeroQuest and that kind of thing, and eventually got into metals. And I love metal miniatures, of course, because of the unique sculpt designs and that kind of thing, which I couldn't do with plastic. But of course, that's all changed now. And well, it just means it's just lighter materials. It's cheaper for them to make all this stuff, and I can totally see it from a business point of view why they wouldn't want to do metals. If they gave us an option, if they gave you the option of making it metal and resin, that'd be really good. I think that's what Sans Dickhead Detours did before, which I thought was a great move. I think that's excellent. Just give people more options. If they want metal, they can get metal. If they want resin, they go for resin. I'm not a big fan of resin myself at all in one shape, sense, or form. I much prefer plastic over resin, to be honest. But then you just don't get the same aesthetical qualities and design out of plastics as you would do with resin. But then you look at Games Workshop, they're doing really well with their plastic. So it really depends on the technology and the design work, I guess, and the infrastructure. And I'm really, really glad it's not PVC plastics, because when I think of Monolith Games, and I think a lot of board game companies, they release these pretty substandard looking figures that are made out of a really soft bendable plastic, real cheap stuff out of China. And I'm really, really glad it's not that, because if it was that, I'd be just saying, no, sorry, you lost me. So I'm really glad that's not the case. So the new rules will be a free PDF download, which is really good. I think a lot of companies are doing this nowadays. And I think they're winning because of it, because people get to access the rules early. They get to proxy their miniatures in. They will have, I assume, either an app or card sets where you can get the cards for all your existing miniatures from way back since, I presume, Confrontation 1. But I could be wrong, could be from just Confrontation 3. So all those profiles, all the metal models you have and loved and painted and all that kind of thing will still be able to be used in this current version, or this new version of Ragnarok, which would be wonderful. They chose Ragnarok because the game takes place 10 years before the Dawn Ritual, and also to separate themselves from the Sans Dickhead Tours. Good move there. So I totally agree with that. So we'll have to get our main man, Eric Harlow, back onto the channel to talk all about the Dawn Ritual. He probably did discuss that in one of our sort of deep dives on the factions, but now I just can't remember. And to be honest, lore is not my strong point, and I just, when I got into Confrontation, the lore was just a very secondary thing. In fact, it was very hard to come by unless you read the actual cards, because a lot of the lore were on the cards. They weren't actually, there was no actual physical book until version 3 came out. And of course, Cadwellum. So the rules, new rules added, but we'll keep the same, keep the game in the spirit of the original game. Okay, rules are in the alpha stage at the moment. So that's good that they're keeping the game to the original sort of design philosophies that they had Confrontation originally. I think it would be a real shame if they just went away from that, because a lot of people who play Confrontation now will want that in the new game. That makes sense. It's going to be played on a 60 by 60 centimeter table size, which is interesting. It seems a bit too small for me, but then I've just got to see it, because I guess, and this is not new, a lot of game companies, a lot of games are moving to smaller game table size, and that's okay. I've just got to see it and see it being played, and maybe it'll change my mind completely. I mean, I prefer smaller game space sizes for tables. 3 by 3 would have been nice, I think. I think that would have been better. But then, I've just got to see what they're doing. 2 Bibles will come out, these books for art and lore, which is really good. So the art book especially, for me, I can just look through that all day. So That'd be excellent. And a lore book would be great as well. I'm thinking that, obviously they're going to get some professional translation work done for this, and maybe even hire Eric, as he did a lot of the translation work when they were still active, way back in the mid-2000s. So, and he wasn't getting paid for that. He'll have a good chance of getting paid this time, I'm sure. But, having someone on there really, who really knows confrontation, like Eric, and he's a professional translator. Eric can do that, no problem. That would be great to see a partnership between those two people to make sure that the whatever language they translated in, they've got someone there who knows about confrontation and the law, and also can translate that competently. The game is going to be 1 hour long. Which is good. Okay, so we're going to see how they scale up. Like, how many points we're talking about here? Are we talking like 7 models a side, and it's 200 points a side effectively, or more? How will it scale? We'll have to see. So I've got some things about the miniatures here, which I've pretty much covered already. They're all going to be made in 3D, so that's no big surprise. I mean, that's how the industry is going now. I even talked to someone who's a miniature sculptor in the traditional sense, and he's now going into learning about how to do digital sculpting. It just makes sense. That's what people are looking for. That's what the company's looking for, and I can totally understand why. I mean, doing it in the traditional sense is kind of a luxury these days. So what they want, the companies, they want people who can do it really quickly in a very short amount of time, and have those assets of the figures when they've constructed them, so they can reconstruct them, like they did with the old dollies for old miniatures, how they made them. You see those with the Perrys or Jez Gooden or any of those sculptors that have one dolly, and they'll just change the head, change the arms, and reposition them. So it just makes sense they're doing it in 3D design, which does mean that when they're cast in resin, you'll have some beautiful, crisp details on those miniatures, and the samples they've shown look very promising. I do really like the Allahan model, and I really like the Elven models as well. And Wolven, the Wolven model looks fine, but I've never been a big Wolven guy, so but so far it looks very nice. And as I said, Didier Poli that's the correct way to pronounce his name. Ex-Rackham designer in charge of modernising the range. Okay, so I think that's pretty much the bulk of all the information that's been released so far. If I have missed anything, please leave them in the comments below, as I love to hear your input about what you've heard so far, either from myself or from what's been released in terms of press release and interviews. Are you excited about it? I am pretty excited about it in terms of my own thoughts. I think it's just, if anything, it's just rejuvenated the interest of people in the Facebook group, Discord group, and on the internet as a whole. It's got people painting miniatures again. It's got people enjoying the prospects of playing their old miniatures in a new game. I hope to see somehow technology getting involved in here, where they have like an app-based driven thing on a phone or a tablet, or even on your desktop, where you can go through the cards, something like what with the other guys did. What are they called again? The gentleman who did the app, Confrontation. It's escaping me. Sorry. But there's an app that's it's still around, but you can something like that, where they have something like, so you can quickly flip through the cards and design armies and do that sort of thing. It seems more and more prevalent now, especially with the modern games, that's where they're going. So yeah, I mean, the miniatures look nice so far, but again, it's very early days. We need to see where it goes, and of course now they're just turning the wheels, generating some hype and interest into it, and giving us a few cookie crumbs along the way until it gets released, until people actually start playing it. And that's great. I mean, that's good. It keeps us in the loop, keeps us very excited. I'm interested to see what they do with hybrid if it is going to be the Griffin versus Durs kind of laboratory thing again, I'm really keen on that. I mean, to be honest, I don't get many chances to play Confrontation anyway. Thanks to Paul, my mate Paul, who lives locally here. That's the only person I get to play with, and who was interested in actually doing anything with me with Confrontation. So thanks to him, and thanks to Jeremy, who played remotely with me. I would like to do more remote games, but there's only so much time in the day. But hopefully they have, in these new rules, like pre-measuring is kind of a modern thing now. You see in a lot of games, if they have pre-measuring, that makes remote play, like as of physically moving the miniatures around with a camera and on Discord, that kind of thing, that makes it much more viable as a game to do over the internet. And it's a 1 hour game length, perfect. You don't want to be there all day, so you can say, okay, I've got a spare hour this Sunday, let's throw down a game, let's play remotely. You get to play people from all over the world, so that's great. I've been doing that for the last 4 years now through Discord, playing HeroQuest and a number of other board games, tabletop games, all those things with many other people on Discord. I've had a great opportunity to do that and meet many great people and form great relationships with them. So hopefully those rules will incorporate something like that, where it's more user-friendly. You're not sort of guess ranging, and even though I love guess ranging in certain games, but I think at a certain point you've got to be more flexible with those kind of things if it's going to be played remotely in that sense. But I'm interested in painting some of the miniatures. I hope I get to paint some for commission at some point. That'll be really exciting. And let's just see what happens. Let's see what unfolds over the next weeks and months. And I'll be more than happy to come over here to tell you all about it and to get your thoughts. So, guys, I'll leave it here. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate your support. I really appreciate people who are coming in and subscribing. That means they find the content here to be worth following. That's great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Now, Paul actually messaged me the other day and said, "Oh, how are you going with the drones?" And I said I'm still working on them, and I'll be finishing the last one today and then basing it. So he's got a few Drew models there himself. So maybe, fingers crossed, maybe we actually might get to play a game next week. So I'll contact Paul and see how he's going. And if we can get together, play a game. I'll try to record it so we can actually get our first game battle report from Confrontation for 2025. I'll ask my friend Owen Staten, the great grand Welsh storyteller, to help me and assist me with making a beautiful narrative report if we can. And just getting you something excited about playing the Legacy edition of Confrontation as opposed to the new one. But until then, guys, look, I hope you keep painting, get involved with your hobby as much as you can. I will bring some more videos shortly, just on finishing off the commission, and anything else I find relevant, I'll bring it onto the channel. So until then, guys, take care, and see you next time.